Hi everyone. I'm Louis, and this is a little bit awkward, isn't it? Why is there a random cartoon talking to me on my screen? Well, let me explain. Chris over the weekend interviewed Shayne Gaffney, a performance training manager over at Zwift, and Chris was trying to get a few tips and action plans to improve his fitness. However, with Chris being Chris, it didn't completely go to plan, and Chris only ended up recording visually his half of the interview, which is obviously not ideal for an interview. So I'm here to try and fix that mess using the power of modern technology, hence this animation. He's texting me now to see if it's done. No, it's not done yet, Chris. No, it's not. Try and enjoy the show. Hit that like and subscribe button. If not for Chris, then for me, because I have to work with him. Okay? Thank you.
How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
And you? I'm trying to record on two different webcams because I want a clear cut of my screen on a different webcam to the one I'm filming on now. So I don't know if it's going to work. How are you?
So tell me, good. So tell me a little bit about what the goal. I talked to Patrick a little bit, but I'm still a little bit unclear.
All right. The goal is to try and get me through the Tour of Flanders sportive.
Okay.
You know, my fitness has gone like this throughout the years. I was a professional athlete at one point, but you know, it was a short period, and it was in track cycling. So you know, track cycling has no comparison, and it was sprint, so it has no comparison really to long distance events. But we thought it'd be a good idea. The opportunity came up to ride the Tour of Flanders, so we were like, right, we can make a series about this. We got in touch with Patrick, and he said we'd try and help and support it, fund it, so we can go to Mallorca, do a training camp. And he said, "Have you got a coach? What are you doing for training?" And I said, "I'm kind of just winging it at the minute." And that's where he came with the idea of getting in touch with you. And ideally, what I want to try and do is, I don't want to be like pro athlete and just spending 6-7 hours a day training. I've got a job, I've got kids, and I want to get the biggest bang for my buck when I'm training in the shortest period of time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I want to speak to you about. How I can keep training as short and specific as possible with everything that's going on in life, while still trying to make gains to be able to ride 170k on the cobbles in Belgium.
Right.
That's the idea.
Okay. And that's Flanders is April?
Yeah, it's like the 1st of April, 1st or 2nd of April.
So we have 8 weeks?
Yeah, so I did start building up in well, it was kind of by accident, the Festive 500. I just started riding that, and I managed to get the 500 done in 5 days. Then I went to Mallorca kind of the following week, and I got another like 13 hours of training in there. So I started to build a decent level of fitness, and I started feeling a difference. But I knew that it was all like zone 2, pretty simple, pretty easy riding. And then I did my backing a few weeks ago, and I've not really done anything since. So again, I'm getting back into it. I went out for a ride today, and I can still feel my fitness is there. But I did a couple of FTP tests, and I know that like the top end is non-existent. And I don't just want to go to Flanders and just get around. If I find a group that's kind of fast or a decent sized group, I want to be able to stick in there, work, and actually enjoy the suffering rather than just put up with the suffering to get through it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. That totally makes sense. So, how many hours a week do you have right now to train?
Oh man,
realistically,
I'd say 8.
8, okay.
I was going to say one or two of those hours are normally Zwift races. So I do a lot of streaming on Zwift. So, you know, 2 of those will be, and I've always found that a better way of training in terms of like not really having any structure, but I just know it's going to be I know it's going to be hard, and I've kind of used that for my top end. But I like to get 1 or 2 or 3 specific sessions that you say, this is a session for someone like you in your position who's wanting to achieve X, Y, and Z. If you can do this session for an hour, this session, do a race, and do a longer ride at the end of the week, you can make some huge gains. That's kind of what we're trying to get.
The training itself is interesting, but it's more the human doing the training that's more interesting, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because like you can have days when kids are going to get sick, or you just don't want to ride, or hopefully you don't get sick, but who knows what'll happen. And like those days is really makes an athlete a great athlete from like somebody who just likes to ride their bike, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you bounce back from those days, and what do you do when those days come? Do you just give up and curl in a ball, or do you try to do something else?
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's super interesting.
Oh, wicked.
But yeah, I mean, my my forte in coaching has been the time crunched athlete, and that's kind of how I came to Zwift. I came to Zwift because I designed a lot of workouts and training plans for the time crunch cyclist.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a pretty good idea of how to maximize training density and dose, but in a fairly low volume.
Yeah.
I will say though that like you made a good point where getting the long ride in, because like obviously we're 2 months away, so the specificity of the training is really important right now.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that long ride in and ideally making that long ride longer each week and making it more specific if you can find cobblestones or off-road or like all that stuff, because track cyclists are kind of notorious for not being the best bike handlers either.
Well, luckily for me, I used to race motorcycles, so I
Okay, cool.
I like to think I've got a fairly decent handle on the handling of it. However, we are going to go out to Belgium. I think in about a month's time. We're going to spend 3 days there. So again, just creating content around like reconning parts of the stage.
Right.
Actually going to ride on some cobbles to get a feel for it as well. So again, we'll be chucking in longer days there.
And I think it's too like I've done this a few times now where like everybody tries to train for like a Grand Fondo or Unbound, Dirty Kanza, those kinds of things where you really can't replace riding on gravel with riding indoors, right? You have to get outside and ride. So that was the point there. Like, as long as you're able to get that across in the program, where like, hey, training indoors is awesome, but let's be realistic too. You have to ride your bike outside and ride your bike over gravel and cobblestones if you have access to them, just to get the feel of like, it feels so weird to ride a bike over cobbles going 20 miles an hour plus.
That's it. I think there's going to be a new generation of cyclists because of Zwift.
Yeah.
That have no bike handling skills whatsoever. They're super strong on a bike.
Yeah, I've already seen it.
Right. Yeah. Which is great, and it's quite scary at the same time, because these cyclists would never have thought about ever riding, but because of Zwift they have, and now they just need to learn they've done it ass backwards almost, haven't they?
Bike.
Yeah.
It's like strapping a 1,000cc motor onto a brand new rider. Like, wow,
here we go. Yeah.
Where's this bike going? Right. It's the same thing. Yeah, I live in New Hampshire, so we deal with really long winters, and it's funny. Like, everybody comes out of winter like extremely fit, but that first race is always a massive pileup, which isn't funny, but it's true. There's always a massive pileup. Get hurt, collarbone fractures, or whatever. Because like that first turn, people go full bore and then
realize that they forgot how to ride a bike.
Yeah, like whoops! I guess we're
actually got a turn here.
Okay, so that all sounds good. I can for sure help you with that. The other two pieces I like to cover too with athletes are like nutrition, hydration, and then you mentioned your back too. So I want to make sure that like we're approaching this from a holistic perspective too. I think that's really important, because like training is great, but training is, as you probably know from being a pro athlete, pretty small percentage of what's a pro athlete. You're doing something to make your body better 24 hours a day, sleeping, nutrition, hydration. So how do you feel in like that respect for the other 99% of the training?
Honestly, could be better. Could be way better.
Okay.
And it's coming in fits and starts. It all depends on mood. Especially with diet. I find it so hard if the kids are here and
with kids,
same way when you're tired, you just think I'd rather eat something. But there are days because I guess I wouldn't say it's an issue, but because I've been there and I know that I can lose weight, I just kind of don't eat. Like, I'll miss breakfast for a few days, which doesn't fuel your body. It's kind of it's a difficult thing. So there are days when I'm like pretty on it and I'm great, but then that only probably lasts for a week or so. It's really hard. I'd definitely say the diet is the hardest part of anything. Training, boom, you just say, there you go, Chris, go and do that. It gets done. But when I have to think for myself, when I actually have to go, right, I need to eat and I need to make sure that I eat here, because another thing that happens is training gets chucked in wherever I go. Oh, I've got a spare hour now, I'll go and get it done. But then I go, well, I didn't eat. I've not ate for the last 3 hours. So if I eat something now to fuel that, I'm not really going to be able to train for another 2 hours. And then it gets pushed back, and then I go, I'll eat it, and then I'll go back to work, and then 5 hours will pass. I'll be like, right, I've got to do the whole process again. And then it's 10 o'clock, and I'll go, well, right, I'll do that session tomorrow. You know, it's yeah.
It sounds like me every day of my life. It's so funny.
So it's not just me that's happening. This is happening to them. That's fine.
No. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I'm basically coaching. I'm coaching myself, which is why I'm not to be pretentious, but I'm good at this kind of athlete.
Yeah.
And these are the athletes I work with one-on-one all the time. I don't work with very many pro athletes. I work with a lot of moms, dads, professionals who use cycling and fitness to augment their other stuff they have going on in life.
Hey, sweet.
I need a
Speak of the devil.
You need a wee. Can you give me 2 seconds? Thanks, Shayne.
For sure.
Be back in a sec.
No problem.
I'm back.
Hello.
There we are.
I have the same. I have two little ones at home too, so.
Oh dear.
Yeah, a lot of work, but worth it, obviously. So yeah, nutrition, I think. So if you do feel like you struggle with nutrition, you may want to also consider speaking to a nutritionist or like a
definitely. Yeah,
I think that's a no-brainer too. Because I think nutrition is honestly sometimes more important than training. Because if you don't eat right, you're not going to be able to push as deep or recover as quick.
I can definitely
really
tell.
Important. Yeah.
Same with recovery. It's almost twofold in the fact that I'm getting older. I don't recover as quick as I used to, and I'm not helping myself by fueling the body to recover as quick as possible. Right. So I get it.
Yep. Yeah. And then same thing like sleep too. And sleep is obviously really stuff we get with kids, especially for you because you're busy too with all the other stuff you have going on. So if you can try to prioritize sleep, that would be good too.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done, which I totally respect, but that's on the easy fix that can make a big difference. Yeah, again with recovery.
Yeah, again, it's these things that are simple when you've got the right mindset to go right. I need to be in bed for 10 o'clock. I need to be in bed for 10:30. Phone goes off, iPad goes off, bang. But again, it's just it's everyday life, isn't it, that just gets in the way, and you kind of stop thinking about what I'm trying to achieve with the Tour of Flanders. Although it's not huge, like I say, I want to try and do it the best I can. So it's almost getting back into that mindset of being that athlete again.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. Like if you want to perform here, then you have to think like an athlete again.
Yeah,
and that is training, recovery, nutrition. Those are the big three things I think. Yeah, because I think is that the training is going to be the easy part. It's going to be the stuff outside it. The other 23 hours a day, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Next step for me is getting you onto Training Peaks, which do you use Training Peaks?
I have done in the past, so I think I've got a Training Peaks account, yeah.
Okay, so I'll send you an email, which is going to have a link, so you can attach your athlete account to my coach account.
Wicked.
I'll make sure that's all up to date. What I'll do from there is I'll look at your historical data. I'll put it through WKO, and WKO is another analytical software I use for athletes to work with one-on-one.
Is that through Training Peaks?
That's through Training Peaks.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing that at one point.
Yeah, I love it. I use it all the time because it gives me way better insights and individualization about like FTP, VO2 max, anaerobic capacities. It gives me a much more physiological, deeper looks into benchmarks for athletes. And based on what I see there, that'll tell me, do you want to prioritize like a high intensity block, or do you want to prioritize more like a sweet spot intensive aerobic block? Because most athletes, especially if they're ex-pros, they tend to have a naturally really high VO2 max. So a lot of times doing really high intensity work isn't going to be that beneficial, but a lot of times they lose efficiency. So they might lose like FTP or endurance or whatever. So sweet spots, longer intervals, more like sustained power work may be more beneficial for you. But I won't know until I see the data.
Yeah.
And then you said you've done a few FTP tests.
So one of the videos we were doing was just comparing indoor to outdoor FTP, see how they how they felt, and the difference between the two.
Okay, I can model it too with WKO pretty easily. And what about like 10-second, 1 minute, 5 minute type efforts. Have you done any of those really hard recently, or no?
No. So that's the other thing. No, I've not done any. I did a 4DP on Sufferfest a while ago.
Yep.
But this is going probably back a year and a bit, maybe.
Yeah, that's too far.
Yeah.
Away. That's something I would like to get a more, especially for a new athlete, I would like to get a more holistic look. Like, what is your 10-second? What is your 5 minute? Because that's like sprint, VO2 max in aerobic, right? So I want to get a more holistic look at an athlete. So if you have time, even like this weekend, and you're going to do a long ride or something, throw in like a 10-second effort, a 1 minute effort, and like a 3 to 5 minute effort during the ride.
Yeah.
That way I can get just a better picture of what your power duration curve looks like.
So in terms of that 5 minute effort, are you talking flat out?
3 to 5.
Wait,
yeah, 3 to 5 minutes.
Wait, 3 or 5? 3? Can I do 3?
For you, I would probably like 5, because I know you're going to have a naturally high VO2 max from your history. So typically, the more fit you are, the longer the testing should be.
Okay, right. All right, 5 minutes.
Because you're going to be able to blast it for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If you push it to 5, you're going to hit that kind of point where you just can't go any further.
Yeah. The plan was to ride on Sunday. So 10-second, 1 minute, 5 minute.
And then, I think I'll send you an email too, but like, give me like a basic rundown. Like Mondays, I like to do this. Tuesdays, like do that. Like what day do you do your races on? What day do you do long rides on?
Yeah.
What day do you have your kids? Just so I know what your schedule is in advance.
Cool.
And then around what your availability is each day too. So I know if you have only an hour, I'm not going to give you a 3-hour ride to do. Because that'd be stupid, right?
Yep.
So making sure that I can tailor the training to what you can actually do.
Yep.
And then, I think nutrition would be a great idea if you know any nutritionists. If not, I can hook you up with somebody I know pretty well, nutrition-wise. And then, the only piece we haven't touched on is your back. So I do want to make sure we're doing some flexibility and that kind of stuff, just so we're not, because like if we do increase the volume, the last thing I want to happen is you get injured and have to miss another week or something.
It's more down to me. It's more down to me not looking after it. So I've got 2 slip vertebrae, partial slips. I want to say L4 and L5, but I could be wrong on that. And they've been there for years, and they were there when I was sprint training. So I was still able to lift heavy weights in squats and deadlifts, things like that. But again, it was as long as I looked after it. But what I've found is prolonged efforts on climbs is where it tends to tighten it up if I'm seated.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess as long as you know what you need to do for that, then
that's it.
That.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's helpful if we actually like schedule it into your day, or like we make it a part of your training. So like say you have an hour and a half to train, but we may only do like an hour and 10-minute workout, and then the last 20 minutes is for stretching only.
Yeah. Good shout.
That way you always get it done, because I think that is a big priority, especially as you get older. You just lose flexibility naturally, and if you're sitting a lot, you have kids, just that stuff can
I jump off the bike, jump in the shower,
right.
crack on with work, and then I just sit down here. So then everything's just tightening up, and
right. Well, the good thing is I've seen this story and read this book hundreds of times. So I know exactly what you need. It's just going to be you doing it. That's it.
Exactly.
Do you have any questions for me?
Here's a question. If I was to go now and do a Zwift session, a Zwift training program, a specific training plan. Wait, what am I trying to say? A training session. If I was going to do one specific workout, thank you. Which one would you suggest doing right now?
How do your legs feel?
They feel all right.
What have you done this week?
I've done an hour yesterday. I had a rest, and then I did 2 hours a day before. So I've done like three hours max. Yeah. So
probably like a more longer, intense one. Maybe like sweet spot medium, sweet spot long kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's more sustained, but it's also close to FTP. I would do something like that. Probably not a VO2 max focus one, more of a long sustained type effort. I think that'd be what I would recommend.
Wicked.
And then, are you going to do a rest day tomorrow and then another long ride on Sunday?
Rest day tomorrow, long ride on Sunday.
And the Sunday ride with those efforts, I do.
So
I think sweet spot medium or sweet spot long, I would say.
Everything I hate.
Pretty much. Usually if you hate it, usually means you got to do more of it. So you could also do If you have an issue with like monotonous stuff, and those are kind of monotonous, doing a pace partner ride that's going to keep you mostly in high zone 2, low zone 3, kind of more of a tempo effort.
Yeah.
Not so much threshold and more tempo. That's another great way to do it too, because you can just chat with people in
good
the
shout
ride.
actually. Yeah, good point.
I would do that instead, honestly, and do like hour and a half, whatever time you have for.
Yeah.
Pace partner rides are awesome for getting volume and getting sustained power, but not doing it in a structured format, which can be pretty boring after half an hour.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
especially with my
pace partner
attention
would be
span. Wicked. Nice
All
one.
right, great to meet you.
And you, Shayne.
Have a good weekend.
Speak to you soon, mate.
Bye.
Bye. What a guy. What a cool guy. Cannot wait to start training again now. That's absolutely piqued my motivation.
Hi, me again. So yeah, that was an odd one, wasn't it? A little bit strange. Didn't expect that one, did you? No. So, I'm just here to remind you to hit that like and subscribe button, which is just coming down there. There you go. Nice little animation for you. And yeah, well, let's keep the ball rolling, and we'll see you for the next episode of Average Joe to Pro. What will Chris mess up next time? We'll see. Bye!